This video will discuss the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938. While the 1906 Pure Food and Drug Act was a step in the right direction, during the following years, the agency now known as the FDA found itself unable to protect the health and welfare of the American people as robustly as it would have liked. While the FDA was empowered to regulate some aspects of food and drug production and advertisement, most of their authority dealt with the clear and correct labeling of product ingredients and product utility. Prior to 1938, the FDA was not able to oversee the safety of drugs, nor the production and safety of cosmetics or therapeutic devices. Aware of its limitations, but moving into a shifting political climate, during the 1930s, the FDA developed several strategies to educate the public of the organization's current regulatory scope and the authority that it lacked. Educational campaigns were meant to inform the public of the potential dangers of commonly available goods, the tendency of some companies to misrepresent their products, and the need for an expansion of the FDA's regulatory powers. To connect with the public, the FDA created and staffed exhibits at fairs and festivals, gave speeches and radio chats, and published articles in popular magazines and newspapers. One of the FDA's most impactful exhibits was presented at the 1933 Chicago World's Fair. It was nicknamed the Chamber of Horrors by the news media, and the exhibit consisted of 17 panels of information filled with large photographs and illustrations that featured strong, impactful words and phrases. The goal of the display was to visually illustrate the limits of the FDA's authority and to compel viewers to advocate for better protections. The display included examples of the Diana Ideal womb supporter, which was found to puncture a woman's uterus if inserted incorrectly. It included photographs of a woman who was blinded by eyelash dye and death certificates of diabetic individuals displayed next to their testimonials for having used unproven diabetic cures. To further their message, the FDA began providing in-person and radio speeches around the country. Many of these talks began with an overview of the 1906 Pure Food and Drug Act, describing to listeners what the FDA could and could not do. A second portion of these talks would focus on the current activities of the FDA and was meant to generate interest among participants. And finally, a third section of these programs let listeners know that they also had an important role in the FDA, that they needed to take time to carefully examine product claims and safety. As well, listeners were asked to let their congressmen know that they were concerned about the safety of food and drugs, and they were supportive of more FDA oversight. Magazines and newspapers were also used by the FDA to get the message out. In fact, the FDA had its own Office of Information to draft press releases, write editorials, and send news briefs to publications such as the Better Business Bulletin, the New Yorker, and the New England Journal of Medicine, and Time. While these activities helped to set the stage for the enactment of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938, it took another tragedy to finally compel Congress to act. During the 1930s, life-saving antibiotics had begun to be manufactured by drug companies across the country. Among these, sulfanilamide had particular promise, but was also noted as being potentially dangerous. In 1937, the S.E. Massengill Company produced their own elixir sulfanilamide by dissolving the drug in a highly toxic solvent, diethyl glycol, which is commonly used in the production of antifreeze and brake fluid. Over 100 people would die from taking this medication, and yet the FDA was only able to charge the company with misbranding, as an elixir implied an alcohol content, but the medication itself did not have alcohol within it. With this latest tragedy in the country's mind, New York Senator Royal Copeland introduced the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act to Congress late in 1937. By 1938, the act had been ratified by Congress, and the FDA now had expanded authority to keep more Americans safe from harmful ingredients and unscrupulous manufacturers. These regulations included extended control to cosmetics and therapeutic devices, requiring that all new drugs be shown to be safe before selling. This started a new system of drug regulation. It provided that safe levels were set for any unavoidable poisonous substances that had to be added into medications or food. And it authorized factory inspections. Prior to this, the FDA could not enter a factory to inspect the quality control of that manufacturing agency. Now they could.